Hello, in this video I'll be covering question 2 on paper 2 of the GCSE AQA English language exam. Okay, so in this question the one key thing that you're told is to make inferences. So what we're going to cover is first of all how to make an inference and what that means, what the exam question is asking you for, how to use quotes to back your inferences up, how to structure your answer, and checking that all the elements are in your answer. So first of all, what does it mean to make an inference? So an inference is where you read between the lines or you use the clues from a text to work something out. So I often use pictures as an example of this because we're quite used to making inferences from images or from people's facial expressions. So in this picture we've got a man and a child. The child's wearing what I reckon is probably a school uniform and has a backpack on, and she has tears in her eyes. So what I've just said is I've probably maybe worked out that she's going to school, but ultimately I'm looking at what is in the picture. What I'd like you to do is have a pause and maybe note down a couple of things that this picture makes you think about. For example, what is making the child cry? What is the child feeling? What is the man feeling? Who is the man to the child? And so on. So have a pause and have a think. Okay, so inference-wise, what we can potentially infer from this is that the child's upset that she has to leave this person. We would expect maybe that this person is her father or her brother. The reason why I say potentially an older brother is that he looks slightly surprised and his arms aren't quite ready to hold her. So I wonder if this is sort of a surprised reaction from the brother. And yeah, my main inference would be that she's upset because she has to go to school. We could then take it further and consider why she's scared to go to school. Is it because she'll miss this person, or is it because there's something at school she doesn't want to do? So, but all of that is really us using the evidence from the picture to make up our minds about what's going on. With question 2 on paper 2, this is what you want to do. You want to see the text, see the evidence, and work out what you can sort of read into it. So, but the important thing is to connect your inferences up with the text. So, for example, I think this girl is on the way to school because her dress has a check print which looks like it could be a school uniform. So I'm connecting it to the image. I think that this girl is upset about having to go to school because she's crying and she's clinging on to this the adult. We suspect she's at school because of her outfit, and that would imply to me, because she has a backpack as well, that maybe it's the beginning of the day and she's doesn't want to leave this person. Okay, so sorry, I've probably gone on way too long about that, but there's some inferences that you can make from an image. So next up is what is the question going to ask us for? So it's all good and well being able to look at an image and make inferences, but we need to do it from texts. So here's an example of a question 2 from paper 2. It's based on the whole of both texts. So you need to refer to source A and source B for this question. Both sources describe the similar ways in which drivers behave in this example. Use details from both sources to write a summary of what you understand about the similar behaviour of the drivers. So let's break this down. First of all, just another reminder that you need to look at both texts for this, so you're kind of adding the two texts together and seeing what you can work out. Then we've got here, use details from both sources. So what this is reminding you, that word details, is reminding you to use quotes. So always connect your inferences back to the text. Then we've got here what you understand. So that's not asking you to tell us what the texts say. That's asking you to get the texts, add them to what's in your brain already, and show us your understanding of it. And that's where inferences come in. We've got this word similar. So to be honest, in most of the questions for question 2, paper 2, it's going to say different. But it works the same for either. So it's either going to say different or similar. So you might be doing a little bit of comparison and saying, well, this looks like it's changed from the 19th century to the 21st century. Or you might be saying it's interesting that, I can infer that things have stayed relatively the same because they're both similar. And the last thing to highlight is this word summary. So again, where I've said about what you understand, a summary is bringing a lot of information together into a shorter, briefer explanation. And that is where you're going to make inferences, because you're trying to summarise, say quite quickly what they're saying in a long time. Okay, so next up, we want to talk about evidence and inferences. So I've tried to highlight this in the image. So when you're starting to answer this question, you'll read through, and then you'll start to get ideas. So you might start to think, I don't know, one of the people being talked about is angry, or that the driver's behaviour suggests they're frustrated or impatient. And that's where you're getting these ideas. You're seeing the connotations of the words, or working out what's being suggested, or seeing what the implications are. Now, what you then need to do is connect that to a specific word, a phrase, or a sentence. So, do I think that the drivers are impatient because they keep overtaking the bikes, and that's the statement that it says? So link it back to a particular sentence or word from the text. So we've found our inferences, we've found the bits of the text that makes us think that. Now we need to write about it. So step 1, this is just going to give you a brief guideline of the structure. So step 1, both sources explain the different thing, strange events or similar behaviours, or whatever the question states. Step 2, in source A, the strange events or the driver behaviour, and explain very briefly what they're like. Step 3, this is shown by this quote. And then step 4, this suggests or implies. This suggests that, this implies that, this makes me think, this makes me feel. And then step 5, in comparison, in source B, the strange events are, and then we go back to step 3 and step 4. So this is shown by this quote, and this suggests or implies. If you make sure your inferences are detailed enough and you go into enough depth with what you're saying the text suggests or implies, 2 paragraphs should be enough. We have to remember that this is worth 8 marks. So what it should look like is something like this. Both sources explain the similar behaviour of the drivers. Source A shows that drivers act impatiently or frustratedly. Step 3, this is shown by this quote. Step 4, this suggests that drivers feel this, and the specific word, sorry about my typo, has connotations of. Similarly, or in comparison, source B shows that drivers act this way, or the strange things are like this. then we're back to step 3. This is shown by this quote. This shows me, which suggests, overall this suggests that XYZ has changed or stayed the same, and you can make further interpretations from there. Okay, so I'm hoping that covers the question and helps you out with how to structure it and what to look for. So what you need to do is just check through that you've made inferences or explained the suggestions that the texts make, that you've used quotes to back up what you think, that you've explained your inferences in detail to as much as you possibly can, and just checking that you could use specific words to connect your inferences to as well. So there's your checklist. And so I thought I had another slide, never mind. Good luck with question 2, paper 2, and email me if you have any questions.